I've actually read their response a number of times, as you know, having had some lengthy travel recently, and had an opportunity to look at it, and I too saw that first sentence and said, oh, whoa. But when I read it further, I think that sentence was probably more negative than the following comments are. And I did have, like I said, I did speak with Maureen Wheatley today because I did have a couple questions, and one of my questions to her was, okay, I see that there are a number of things that need to be fixed, and a lot of them seem to be semantics. When you write something and you're very close to it, you know what you want to say, but your words don't always say it. And that a number of the comments spoke to that, to say, well, you know, if you read between the lines, we kind of know what you meant, but the words you used weren't right. That's fairly easy to fix. Her response was not, oh, this is a terrible ordinance, you need to start over. Her response was, we really want Newtown to have the best T&D ordinance. We love Newtown. We want to make sure it is protected and that you get what you want, and we want to make sure that the ordinance is tight, that it's not, that it doesn't open up for interpretations by someone who is trying to take advantage of the ordinance. And we've already experienced that recently, where a developer tries to take advantage of the wording in the ordinance, and she wanted to make sure that the borough would be protected by that. And so she actually didn't apologize, but she said that it is a stern review, but they did it on purpose because they really want us to have a good product. So I read through it, and I highlighted what the issues were, and they really aren't all that, well, they're certainly not insurmountable, and I don't think it's going to take all that much time to do, because the essence of this ordinance is not subject to critique. It's the making sure that it is in fact consistent with the rest of the zoning ordinance. That was a big issue throughout this, and that's an important thing for us to know, and that's why we asked for consultant review in the first place, and I think we finally got it, and it would have been great to have had this earlier. But now we have it, and it's specific enough that it's, you know, go to this section and change this wording, and go to this section and change that wording, so I don't think it's such a big deal to make the changes and get this going. So it's my urging that we strongly urge the Planning Commission to do this as quickly as possible, and obviously if the Planning Commission runs into some issues, they will let us know.
And I would feel better if the Planning Commission had the opportunity to look at this, come back to us, and let us know what we can do.
Okay, well,
before we drive them.
Well, but that's what the motion does. It says, look at this and come back to us for our work session in November, is what it's saying. Well, I did, because I would love to be able to push this through and get this off the table. And I think the Planning Commission should have some direction from council in terms of how anxious we are to actually see the result. And that's why I had made that recommendation for the motion. Any other discussion?
Can we just back up? Because I
Sure.
did agree with your first portion of it, that we want them to take a look at it, come back to the work session, and discuss what your findings are. The other portion of the motion was time-bound? What are we discussing here as far as the rush?
The motion is that we give it to them and we ask them to come back to us for the work session in November. Okay? Now, if they come back to us in the work session in November with a completed ordinance, then we have an opportunity we have to send it back to the Bucks County Planning Commission. So we have an opportunity to do that at either the work session, or obviously we're going to take a week and look at it, right, at the November 9th meeting. And if we get it out on November 9th, then we have the Bucks County Planning Commission has assured me that they will look at it at their December meeting, which is the 1st of December, which would enable us to adopt in December. Now, obviously that means we need to get it out the door on the 9th of November, which means that the Planning Commission needs to bring something to us at the work session to take a look at. So it all goes back to the Planning Commission, and certainly my assumption is that the Planning Commission takes a look at it and says, oh, man, we really have some work to do, then that's something else. But the Planning Commission says, well, this, we can do this, here it is. Then we're good.
So in other words, it doesn't go forward until we see the work session?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, any other comments? Okay. If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
Julia?
Yes.
If I may, not to muddle things here, last time this was discussed, it was kind of suggested that I would hold off on any substantial review of the ordinance until the Planning Commission came back. There were comments and revisions. I'm just looking for some guidance from council as to what the level of my involvement should be at this point. Should I still hold off until the Planning Commission addresses the Bucks County Planning Commission's comments, or dive in at this point? Again, just looking for some guidance on that.
If I may, I would suggest holding off
Okay.
until you have a product which is ready to do that.
Okay.